Now let's welcome our main speaker for tonight, Hector.
Hector, alcoholic. You know, I called my sponsor because I said, I got up at 5 this morning. I've been running since and working and doing things since 5 o'clock. I said, I don't have the energy to go to speak. So what do you do? He has 30 years sobriety. He says, Hector, this is what you do. You do it anyway. And there's somebody in that room that needs to hear you tonight. Just one person. Maybe just one person. See, I spoke here 3 months ago. That's why I asked Mike, announce me the week before so the poor people don't come back and hear me again, So that's why he said last week that I will be speaking here. And he says something else, which I've been sober 24 years, and I've been speaking since I have 7 months sobriety. And he said, don't give your pitch, just talk to them, like if you're talking to a neighbor over the fence, And I've never done that because I've been doing this so long. It's like, And let me tell you up front that I really, really love Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm just in love with Alcoholics Anonymous. Best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm doing now the same things that I did 24 years ago when I came to AA. My shrink sent me here. I go to meetings, I have a sponsor, I sponsor people, I have 3 commitments, I pray, I meditate, I read the book, and I work the steps. And that's how I stayed sober 24 years. And my sponsor does the same thing, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life. Luckily, I have only half an hour to talk. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my life. I come from abject poverty in Argentina. My parents were illiterate. We had dirt floors, no bathroom, no running water, no heat, and they were very violent. So I didn't know I was an abused child until I came to AA. Here they give you all the diseases. I was telling one of my sponsees, that my mother used to chain me. Oh my God, you were an abused child. Was I? And my father was a little more violent, He used to grab a gun or a knife and chase us out in the middle of the night. So my first dream as a child was not to become, president of Argentina, a doctor or a movie star. My first dream as a child was to kill my daddy. What are you going to do, Hector, when you grow up? I'm going to kill my daddy. I remember once I sponsored this guy, and I told him I was an abused child. I said, I was an abused child too. And I said, what happened to you? Well, my father used to take me to the opera. Oh, really? That's horrendous. Oh, my God. That's real abuse. And what do you do now? Well, I'm a sound and music editor. Maybe it has something to do with, with your daddy taking you to the opera. So, and I knew I was coming here since I was a little kid, since I was 8 years old. I used to steal American magazines. And we had a little, like a shack, by the chicken coop. And I used to keep all your magazines and look at pictures of you. I said, someday I'm going to be there, since I was 8 years old. And when I was 24, I came. Oh, by the way, I came here legally, okay? So don't get any funny ideas, okay? If you don't like my pitch, you cannot call immigration. It's too late. I'm an American citizen, And I love America. I do love America. I'm more fanatic about America than you are. And I worked in advertising, and I did well. I just took both my retirement plans and Social Security. I don't have to work for the rest of my life, but I earned it. I worked straight for 40 years, And I knew when I got all these things that I had seen in the American magazine, I was going to be okay. And I got all those things, you know. I got the apartment in Manhattan. And I have the clothes from Brooks Brothers. Oh yes, because Brooks Brothers. You see, my first dream when I came to America was that I wanted to be a wasp. You know. And it was the '60s. I had this big afro, about this big, you know, a big black mustache coming down like this. And no matter how I dressed, I always looked like a Mexican yuppie. You know what I mean? I could not pass for a wasp, you know. So I got all the things I seen in the American magazine. I had the suits from Brooks Brothers, you know, the furniture was from Bloomingdale's, I had hand-cut crystal, a gorgeous apartment. I always felt like a piece of garbage, and I didn't know why. You told me why when I came here. You told me I was looking for a material solution to a spiritual problem. And you told me nothing that I can see with my eyes, nothing can fix my insides. You see, only relationship with a higher power is going to solve my problem. Remember, the book says the disease is mental, physical, and spiritual. But if we take care of the spiritual malady, the other two will follow. For us in AA, the solution is always spiritual, God, as you understand Him. As the big book says, page 45. The main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself that will solve your problem. It's not the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the job, the car, or the money. Those things are good and I enjoy them, but they give me physical comfort. The inner peace that I always longed for is a relationship with a high power that the book tells me is inside of me. And I didn't know that. I thought if I got all those things, I was going to be okay. And I wasn't. And then I knew I was going to be okay if I become an actor, you know. And I became an actor, and I did a Broadway show, and we won all the awards on Broadway. We won the Tony, which is equivalent to the Oscar in the theater, you know. And I still felt like a piece of garbage. And one day I came to, you know, when I was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had peed on myself, and I was sweaty. And I had a moment of clarity. I realized what my problem was. My problem is New York. This is a horrible, hostile, unfriendly city. I have to move to a more caring, loving, nurturing place. So I moved to Hollywood. And I don't know, you know, in those days I had my black afro and my mustache, and we're talking about 1970s and the 70s, and I played a lot of bad guys, you know. They don't write good parts in those days for Latinos. I was always molesting women, pimping, you know, stealing, smuggling dope, you know. I even sold children. I sold babies. I sold imported from Mexico, you know. And I always got in jail. I always went to jail, you know. I always got killed, you know. I've been handcuffed on TV more times than the Menendez brothers, you know. So finally, I'm going to get to my bottom. Finally, I get this part in a movie called Wanted, The Sundance Woman, which is a sequel to Butch Cassidy, remember? It was Catherine Ross. And I'm going to play Pancho Villa's right-hand man. I'm going to be the good guy. I'm going to save the girl. I couldn't believe it. I'm not going to have sex with the girl. I'm going to have just save her, okay? It's progress, not perfection. But at least, you know, I'm a good guy. So they give me the part and they call me home. The director, oh, Hector, we forgot to ask you, can you ride a horse? Can I ride a horse? I'm a gaucho from Argentina. I was born on a horse. I lied. So we get to Tucson, we do all the interiors, now we're going to do the exteriors, right? We're going to ride around the jail and St. Catherine Ross. Now, they put me on top of that stupid animal. I hate horses, let me tell you. This is a horse, this is you. If you ride properly, this is the way you do it. See? Nice. When I did it was like this. The director had a heart attack. Hector, you lie. We asked you, why did you lie? This man on the horse are like one unit. He chewed me out. They made me practice for 4 hours. I couldn't get off the horse. When I got off the horse, I could not get my legs together. I walked like this. And my ass was a huge blister. I'm glad you think it's funny. I couldn't sit. So I go home, I've been to the hotel, and I get some sangria and Coca-Cola. That was my drink of choice, sangria and Coca-Cola. You see, don't knock it before you try it. You don't know. Don't give me that, you know. I like sweet things, you know what I mean? Anything that had an umbrella in it, I loved, you know what I mean? And I got pissing drunk. I come to the set the next morning. I said, sir, to the director, I cannot do the take. My ass is a huge blister. Hector, we don't give a shit. You see behind you is 200 extras. You know, we cannot hire them tomorrow. We have to do them today. He said, but it's very, very, very hurtful. It hurts a lot. Hector, sorry. So those two big guys, we call them the Wranglers, the cowboy guys, they picked me up and they sat me on top of that thing, what you call the saddle. And what they did is they put wet towels underneath my ass, right? And it's so embarrassing. I'm playing this heavy-duty macho bandito, right? With the bullets across my chest, the mustache, the hat, you know, sideburns down to here. They give me the 2 guns and I'm sitting on wet towels, you know. And now they said, Hector, don't cock the gun until you're galloping and shoot only in the air because those blanks are really dangerous. Remember that good-looking guy playing the Russian roulette with blanks and killed himself? It was in the papers, John Huxon or something. If I get you this close, I'll blow your eyes out. I have a hangover. So the way they did it, 6 of us principal are lined up. The 200 extra, all Mexicans, are behind us. I look behind me. I said, if I fall, I'm dead. So the 6 of us principal are on top of the horse, and they have the big Wranglers, the Marlboro guys, holding the reins. When they say action, they slap the horses in the ass, and we take off. So the Wrangler's there. I said, I'm going to get at least 1 shot. I'm shaking, right? So I cocked the gun, and the horse goes, yeah! Boom! Oh my God, I shot the Wrangler in the ass. Oh, he didn't think it was funny, you know what I mean? So we do the take now, we're gonna do a retake. He's giving me the look, and he's holding the horse like really far away now, right? I'm an alcoholic, but I'm not stupid. I cocked the gun again, but I put it next to my leg. And the horse goes, boom! Oh my God, I shot my leg. My costume is in flames. I'm an alcoholic. I'm going to say Catherine Ross. So I began galloping, and the flames are coming up, right? So by the end of the take, it was like a torch on top of the horse. Oh, they threw me on the floor after we finished the take, you know. They put the flames out to rush me to the hospital, to rush me to LA. And I was in the hospital for a month. I had to have 2 operations, one to remove the infection because he got infected, and one for a skin graft, you know. While I was in the hospital, my agent didn't send me flowers, and I'm very sensitive. You don't send me flowers, I'll kill myself. I'll teach you a lesson. So I asked my friend Irene. I had 2 other suicide attempts in New York, and this was my last one. I asked my friend Irene to bring me the sleeping pills. Oh, by the way, I was just all alcoholic. I always kept 40 pills, sleeping pills, in case I want to commit suicide. But I was only once, I remember now. Somebody gave me a pill in the gym. Says, this is a black beauty. if you, oh, you junkies, you know. He says, if you take one of these, oh, you have so much energy. I love energy, so I went home and I took one of them. Oh, baby, I cleaned my apartment twice, everything. I was dusting the ceilings, you know what I mean? I was making plans for the rest of my life, you know. The only thing, I couldn't close my mouth. It was like this. Never again, you know, I mean, give me death. So my friend Irene brought me the pills, and I took about 30, 40 of them, and that was my last suicide attempt and my best one. I was in coma for 3 days in intensive care unit. While I was in coma, I had 2 cardiac arrests. They have to revive me twice. And I had everything, you know. I was dead for 3 days, and I had everything. I had a new Mercedes, I had beautiful clothes, I had a beautiful apartment. I just made the most money I ever made in a week. And I had enough money in the bank to live a whole year without working. Only one thing was missing. I didn't have Hector. I didn't know who Hector was. I was a pathetic little man, you know, so frightened, I'll do anything for you to like me. I had zero self-esteem. And I got out of the hospital, and a few months later I was doing the same thing, and my shrink sent me to AA. He said, Hector, you're an alcoholic, go to AA. Are you sure, Mike? This Hector is a Pope Catholic. Yes, go to AA. And I've been in AA for 24 years, you know, and as I said before, I still do the same things that when I came here 24 years ago. And not because I'm good or spiritual, it's because I'm a flake. If I don't do the things that I do, I would have drank. And I'm really like the life that I have now. I really have a splendid life, you know. And I'm 66, I'm in great physical health, I don't have to work for the rest of my life, and I live a grand life. And I owe it, you know, to you. You are my teachers. You taught me how to like myself, how to have a life, how to be a useful member of society. And now I'm going to talk for the next 20 minutes about God on the steps. When I came here, I had a great deal of problem with God because I come from a Catholic background. And I'm another religion now, non-denominational, which honors and respects all other religions. But then I was a Catholic, and you know, in my church, you know, my God was not a loving God. My God looked like Charlton Heston, and he behaved like Leona Hemsley. You know what I mean? He did not like the little people, you know. So I had to find a God, you know, that I could really use, and I find this definition of Joel Goldsmith, you know, that I really love. He's a great spiritual leader, or he was, and he wrote a lot of beautiful books. My favorite is Practicing the Presence. And he said, regardless of how high my concept of God is, it is wrong, because it is still a concept. Eventually I have to lose all concepts and reach the consciousness, like conscious contact, the consciousness that God is. And then leave the subject alone, because with the mind, I'm never going to know what God is. And the big book says the same thing, you know, page 46. And I read this because I'm senile and I don't remember the pages. Page 46, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend that power which is God. And the book also tells me, page 53, God is everything or else he's nothing. God either is or he isn't. What was our choice to be? And also tells me where God is, because I thought God was floating someplace. And the book says, we found the great reality, that's God, deep down within us. In the last analysis, it is only there that he, capital H, may be found. It was so with us. And that's how wonderful that is, that God is inside of me. You know, and I came to believe, just for me, remember, whatever I say from the podium applies only to me, that, you know, whatever I am, God is. There's only one sonship. The only relationship that is from everlasting to everlasting is my relationship with my higher power. It was never born, it will never die. It's eternal. That's what I believe. You see, because you and I were going to part, you know, there's one relationship that really, really is with me forever. I believe that God loved me so much that he created me in his own image. That's what we say when we say our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven. That means we all have one Father. That means we're all brothers and sisters here. We are part of the spiritual family. And this is a spiritual program. There's no spiritual part in this program. It's all spiritual. The fact that you got out of your house, got into the car, and come here and sit here, that's spiritual. The fact that somebody brought the cake, that's spiritual. The fact you said something nice to somebody who's new here, that's spiritual. There is no spiritual part. This whole book is about God. The whole entire book is about God. And you see, I cannot have people, I don't understand how God, I know how it works, but I don't know why it works. I don't have to. You know, and there's a page, a chapter, we agnostic. And the whole gist of that chapter is, you better change your mind. You know? And I believe, somebody said, for those who believe, no explanation is necessary. For those who don't believe, no explanation will ever be sufficient. I just believe. And what is my proof? My proof is you. I found God in meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. Somebody said a church, a synagogue, or a temple is the house of God. But an AA meeting is God's workshop. And I love that. And I came to believe, just for me, that God is incomplete without us. He needs us because he loves through us. He needs our hugging, our touching, our kissing, our smiling, our words. That's why God says, if you believe in me, I am. And that's what I believe, you know. And my God is a loving God. No matter what I do, he loves me. And if I do something wrong, he doesn't punish me. What I did wrong, that's my punishment, because I had to live with it. My God is so loving, he doesn't know inequity. You know what I mean? He's always loving. Because we all know through AA, the loving is the only energy that really heals us. That's what we do when a newcomer comes to the front door, right? It's, hi, I just came out of jail. I was in jail because I killed somebody, you know, and they told me I had to come here. What do we say? Welcome! You're one of us. You want cookie and coffee? And later on, you know, we'll take you out to dinner. That's love. We don't judge. If you did something wrong, you had to make amends, but we love you. And if you are some new people, I thank God for you. I thank God that he sent you to us. This is your spiritual family. You're going to be with us for the rest of your life if you choose to do that. And we'll trudge the road of happy destiny. It is a road of happy destiny. It's not a road of disgusting misery. You know, so we insist on being happy, the book says. Doesn't mean we're always going to be happy. But the overwhelming quality has to be that there's certain joy. Otherwise, we drink. And it took me a long time to understand the steps, you know. And I did the steps with my sponsor. It took me a year and a half, and I made my amends. But it took me a long time, and I'm not going to go through them. I'm going to spend maybe 5 minutes, you know. People say, yeah, the steps are to achieve sobriety. Yes. The end result of working the steps is sobriety. But for me, just for me, not for you, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous are spiritual tools to develop a conscious contact with God. And if I do that, the obsession will be removed. It says so in the 12 and 12, page 32. The fact was, we really had not clean house, so that the grace of God could enter us and expel the obsession. Therefore, we remained self-deceived and so incapable of receiving enough grace to restore us to sanity. And what is God's grace? The book doesn't say it. 12 and 12 doesn't say it. You taught me. You told me that God's grace is an unmerited gift. And God loves me not because I am good. He loves me because he is good. And God's grace is inside of everybody. Whether we choose to contact that grace or not is up to us. How do we harness that power, that beauty? That part of God is percolating inside of all of us by working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. They are tools to get in touch with that divinity which is inside all of us. That's what I learned and I've been taught here. Isn't it interesting? In the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, the word the word sobriety is not mentioned. The word recovery is not mentioned. Not even the name of our disease is mentioned. But there is one word that's mentioned 9 times. Check it out. That word is God. Alcohol is cunning, baffling, and powerful. But there is one, not 2, not 3, 1, capital O, that has all power. Not 70%, not 90%, but all power. Then they name it. That one is God. May you find him now. And then the list of 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. So for me, just for me, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous are a spiritual tool for me to have a conscious contact with God. And what does it mean, conscious to me? Conscious means I have to be reminded myself that wherever I am, God is with me. And sometimes what I do to put that into practice, besides working the steps, before I get out of bed, before I put my foot down, I just give thanks. Thank you, God, for this day. Thank you, God, for this sobriety. Thank you, God, for my health. Thank you, God, for my family, for my brothers and sisters in AA. Thank you for this house. Thank you for my life. It takes me 30 seconds. So I start the day with gratitude. I think Emerson said, a grateful mind, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I'll say it's somebody else. But a grateful mind is a great mind that eventually attracts to itself great things. You see, if I'm in gratitude, I'm open, to God's grace and to receive happiness and joy and connected with that power which is the power of God. Think about it. That power that created the entire universe, that power that really makes the cosmos rotate in perfect order, that power that takes a little minute embryo and makes a beautiful baby out of it, that power that takes a little seed and makes it into a huge tree, that power is percolating inside of me. And the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous are spiritual tools to get in touch with that divinity, the secret place of the Most High, which is inside of me. And that's what I believe. And that's what I work the steps. And that's what I pray and meditate. And it's interesting that the 11th step, the preceding 11 steps end up in prayer and meditation. Not meditation and prayer, prayer and meditation. And prayer is a dialogue with God. And I thought prayer was like a deal making with God, If I'm really good, God, can I get laid? You know what I mean? No, 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 no. How can I be? The book says I had to be a maximum use to God and those about us. And remember the third step prayer? Relieve me of the bondage of self that can be a better use to all of you. Not to get a new Cadillac or to get a new house or whatever. It's to be a maximum use to you. Why? Why is it that we have to be a service? Because the only healing love you taught me is the love I give you. It's wonderful that you love me, but it's infinitely much more important that I love you. That's why the book says when everything else fails, it doesn't say go out and buy another cashmere sweater, does it? When everything else fails, go and find a newcomer to work with, to care for, to love, to assist, to guide. Because I get out of myself. And also I've been taught here, the more I give, the more I have to give. Because it is a flow. It is a flow. And if I stop doing service or not giving, the flow stops. Whatever I have in my life, it was given to me to use, but not to own it. Nothing is mine. Nothing. Because I cannot take anything with me. So the best thing I can do with whatever gift God gives me is to give it to you. That's why today, although I did not want to come, I showed up. Because I know after I do it, I'll feel better. Anyway, I worked the steps and I made my amends. But when I was about 3 years old in the program, I realized I still was very uncomfortable and I didn't know why. And I had to do inventory. And after I did inventory, I realized that I still hated my parents. I resented them. And the book says resentment is the #1 killer. And it doesn't exempt parents, you know. So I have to look at that. And yes, my parents, you know, some of what they did was wrong. And I'm not condoning child abuse, you know. But the thing is, if I resent my parents, I hate my parents, when I did inventory, I realized I behaved exactly like my dad in 14 different ways. That which I hate, I shall become. That's what I defend against, I shall become. And I was exactly like my dad. You see? And I had to look at that. And also I cannot resent anything or anybody because the book says it kills us. It's fatal. Somebody said resenting somebody is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It always kills me. And I had to look at my mom. Yes, she changed me a few times and she beat me up a few times, but that was probably 15% of the equation. She was illiterate, but she sent me to school, to 12 years of school, 8 hours a day. Remember, she was illiterate. And, you know, she bought me the clothes that I needed to go to the gym, to go to school, working at 2 jobs. There's no welfare in Argentina. She got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and worked every day, every single day of the year until 11 o'clock at night. 2 jobs. And I remember when I was a child, I was 5 years old. We didn't have money for a Christmas tree, so she took a broomstick, some crepe paper and some wire, and make a Christmas tree. 4 branches, 5 branches, 6 branches. She went out with a quarter and bought 4 Christmas balls, I remember the colors and everything, and 1 pointer. And I had my little Christmas tree, and every year it got a little bigger. And she would make the ornaments. She was doing the best she could with the tools she had. And when I was 12 years old, she bought me a bicycle imported from Italy. The best money could buy. We're talking 50 years ago. It's almost like buying a convertible to a kid now. You see, she was doing the best she could with the tools she had. See, most of us didn't get it at home, but at least we went to school. We had the opportunity to learn school. She didn't have that opportunity. So when I realized about all this with the inventories and everything, I sent her a ticket. She had never been on a plane. She got into a plane and came to visit me. The first time she ever flew. The first time out of the country. And she came to my apartment. And when she walked to my apartment, she had 12 feet tall Christmas tree, real pine, decorated in her favorite colors, pink and red, with 33 presents underneath her Christmas tree. And I told my mom, thank you for everything you did for me, for the schooling, for the books, for the clothes. You know, we were poor. We had no heat. But, you know, at night she would heat a brick on the stove, wrap it on a rag, warm up the bed and put it on my feet. She was doing the best she could. My father beat her up, and sometimes she would beat us up. And I thanked her. I never, ever mentioned what she did wrong. We don't do that in AA. We take it only on this side of the street, the book tells us. You know, and that relationship was healed. I remember once she was talking to my sister Olga, and she said, you know, Olga, what I wish for all the mothers in the world? And Olga said, what? That all of them could have a son like my Hector. He doesn't get any better than that. She died 3 years ago. She was 91. And that relationship was healed by working the steps. With my father, it was a little more difficult, you know. I hadn't heard from him in 14 years. And I had like about 14 years sobriety. And all of a sudden I received a letter from Syria. He had moved back to Syria. He was from Syria. He said, "Hi, how you doing, son? I didn't, I haven't heard from you." Of course he hadn't. I didn't know where he was. And he said, "I just wanted to say hello, and also I wanted to ask you some money because I need some money to pay some taxes." You bastard. You sent me a letter after 14 years because you need money? And then he continued, "Oh, one more thing, My family here says if nobody talks to me from the other side of the ocean, I must have done something wrong. And if I did, I apologize." Ha! Did you do something wrong? And I began writing back. And I began listing everything he did wrong. And this is a long list, and it gets longer and longer because now I'm sober in AA and I don't lie. This is a long list. Then I made a mistake. I asked an old-timer what to do. Newcomers never do that. And she said, Hector. He said, "If your father took 14 years to write to you, why do you have to answer right away?" And Hector, would you rather be right or would you rather be at peace? I'd rather be right. I waited for this my entire life. But I'm a people pleaser, and I sent the letter. I didn't send the money, but it was not enough. My shrink who sent me to AA said, "Hector, I went to see my shrink, back to my shrink after 22 years. I said, after 14 years, I said, I this and that." He says, "Hector, you had to go to Syria and talk to your dad. You don't know your dad." Are you crazy? Syria? Syria's full of Syrians, you know what I mean? They all look like my father. I don't want to go to Syria. But I'm a people pleaser, and I called my dad, He sounded senile on the phone, and so I'll be there in 3 months, and I landed in Damascus. And this giant that used to beat me up is about this tall. Little old man, bald-headed, wispy white hair, baggy pants, running towards me sobbing. And he embraces me and starts kissing me all over. And I start sobbing. And he's sobbing. And I'm asking myself, who is this man? I don't know my dad. My dad never talked to me. He either worked or fought with my mom. But we never talked. And he couldn't help me with my homework because he was illiterate. And he took me to his village. He took me like a little kid, grabbed me by the hand, put me in a taxi, took me to his village. This very, 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 very poor village. If you think Mexico's poor, Mexico's like Switzerland next to Syria. And he lived in this little village. His house is the only one with a toilet. And he told me his story, He never had a mom. His mom had him when she was 15 years old. His dad died when he was 6 months, so he never had a dad. So how is this man going to know how to be, and he never went to school. How is this man going to know how to be loving, caring, nurturing father? He had no idea. But he loved me. He really loved me. I just did not love him. I don't want this illiterate little peasant from Syria to be my dad. I want Nelson Rockefeller. No, Hector. This is the one you have to love. This is your dad. And he loved me so much. In this very poor village, he made me dress in a 3-piece suit in this very poor village. He bought steak because in Syria it's very expensive, put it in this little table in the dining room, made me eat it so everybody would see what his son was eating. And he invited all the villagers from the village, to come and say hello to my son Hector from America. And all the villagers had to come and shake my hand. That's how proud he was of me. If a blind beggar walked into the room without shoes, and they guided his hand to touch my face so that he too may know what Brahim's son looked like, that's how much he loved me, how proud he was of me. And we spent about 8 days together, and I taped him, I photographed him, and I got to see the child of God inside this little man. You see, he grew up like a little animal in this village, no education. When he was 16, he moved to Argentina, and married my crazy mother. How is this man going to know how to be a loving, caring, nurturing father? Love is like any other subject. Unless somebody taught it to you, you cannot give it to somebody else. Unless somebody loved you, touched you, and hugged you, you cannot do it to somebody else. I had pictures with him, in Syria, and all the pictures, I put my arm around him, and he's moving away like this from me. In all the pictures. It's very subtle, but you see it. He cannot receive that. When I left at the airport, I knew I was not going to see him again because he was 80-something and I was not coming back to Syria. And we were both sobbing again and sobbing. And I said, Daddy, I love you very, very much. And I'm so proud that you're my daddy. And he grabbed my face and kissed me all over. And he said, son, I am 10 times more proud that you're my son. I am so proud of you, so proud. And this trip that you made to my little village is the most beautiful present anybody could have given me. No money in the world could make me happier. Now I can die in peace. And I left. When I came back to America, something very subtle had changed. I always looked like a man, I sounded like a man, I dressed like a man, I accomplished like a man, but inside I always felt like a little kid, like a 12-year-old kid. Because you see, being like a man was being like my dad, and I hated my dad. Now when I think about my dad, I smile. See, he did the best he could with the few tools he had. Had he had known better, he would have done better. And now I know what a real man is, or a real woman. It has nothing to do with what we drive, how we dress, how much money we make. Those things are okay. A real man is somebody who's at peace with himself. For me. Because if I'm at peace with myself, I'm in contact with God. I can have a serene life, a useful life, and I can do what the book says to be of maximum use to God and those about me. Because remember, the only healing love is the love I give you. It's wonderful that you love me, but it's infinitely much more important that I love you. And that's the whole secret of life. We're here for 2 things, to love and to be loved. The rest is the icing on the cake. But that's a real, real, real nature of God, which is love, to give and to receive. And that's what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous. I love AA. Why I love it? Because you're lovable people. Thank you, and good night.